Hi, my name is Brandon Hillman. I'm a math teacher at Riverside Local Schools there at the high school. And my lesson, as you see there, is going to be focused on the introduction to functions, which is one of the units we talk about. It's very common in an algebra class. That is, it's going to probably be changing now that the Common Core is coming out. But the reason I chose this is because it's a very vital part and aspect to algebra. Functions, not just function notation, but also graphing, and that's what we're focusing here on in this unit. And I had to cut out a little bit there and not actually looking at function and plugging in certain values for functions, getting a domain and range, but just looking at the slope and the graph of a linear equation. And so this is basically what students were given a link to this page and just follow the directions, and they were given a piece of paper as well, which I'll show you here in a little bit. So basically just click on the unit and it takes them to the general layout, unit overview, which talks about a pre-assessment, talks about the slope of a line and graphing linear equations, which they will, and we'll look at here as far as what the students were asked to do. This is what they're asked to find slope. And that was, the needs analysis at the beginning here is to basically just find the slope and graph linear equations. They need slope to graph linear equations. Oftentimes, real world situations, you're given a graph. It might be your pay, it might be a different situation. You have to point out the slope, the rise over the run. So they need that end result of graphing linear equations. And as you scroll down here, you can see that this is the learning targets based off of the new core standards. And students were going through here, the ultimate goal was to start off with slope of a line, and they'll go through each of these progressions, and they'll click through, for example, the pre-assessment here. It'll take you a pre-assessment activity, and this is one of the things that I needed to change but didn't, is to have this open up in a different window instead of having to click on it up here. As you see, and download it becomes a little bit of a hassle. And students would go through, and they worked in groups. Kids that I had go through this were in an algebra class, 8th and 9th graders, 17 male, 10 female, 9 of them 8th graders, 18 of them 9th graders. And this is a rural district, not a lot of ethnicity or different cultures, I should say, but for the most part it's 95% Caucasian. There's some Hispanics and African American in there as well. But they basically, I had a couple kids work on this, and they went through and they just basically told me what they liked, what they didn't like. The big thing here is slope, just an opening section here, and that's something that I might change in the long run as far as this this beginning sort of pre-assessment to see what they know. Maybe make it a quiz and see what grade they get based off of the quiz, just some introduction to coordinate planes, and if they don't do too well, then go on to this assignment. And throughout this, you have a lot of videos. The students watched either YouTube. Now it works on my computer, but it didn't work on the other computers because we didn't have access to YouTube at my school. So that was a big deal. So I used SchoolTube and TeacherTube to change that. There's the I can statements and learning targets, what kids should know as they go through this assignment. And as they go through, there's quizzes, there's different assignments, and that was another thing that I would need to change. I didn't specify what I wanted from them and how I wanted them to turn it in, and that was obviously a big no-no on my part, which would be fixed in the future. And at the end, when they go through, we'll finish the assignments. They go as fast or as slowly as possible. Again, working on in this groups of 2 and 3. They click on to the next part, and it takes them on to the bulk of this, which is graphing linear equations. A lot of investigating here of changing slope and y-intercept to figure out what slope-intercept form is, which would lead into the bulk and meat of the section. Now, if we were to continue this in the regular aspect, I would also do parts 3 and 4. As far as the teacher's part is concerned, in the student packet, I just basically said, hey, here's the link, something similar to this, and students went on and went through the questions, and they filled out the post-assessment. And for the teacher packet, the guy was great. Gave him, again, the introduction, one of the most important concepts. This is basically my need analysis here. And they as well were given the link, and they went through there. Pretty much the same abilities and access as just the the overall teacher forum versus student forum was a little bit different. So in the long run, ADDIE is a great and awesome tool.